Hello. Thank you all for joining us today. This is the November 2024 regular board meeting of the Urban Redevelopment Authority of Pittsburgh. Our first order of business is roll call. I'll note for the record, present are Director Williamson, Council President Lavelle, Representative Powell is joining us remotely. I'm here, and then Lauren Connolly, Director Connolly will be joining us here in a little bit, and we will note that when she is able to be here. Our first order of business then is approval of the October 10th, 2024 URA regular board meeting minutes. I'll entertain a motion to approve.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed or abstentions? Then the motion carries. Next, we have public comment. I will turn it over to Director Geiger.
There we go. Good afternoon. Thank you, Chairman. My name is David Geiger. I'm the Director of Government and Strategic Affairs, and apparently now the MC for the public comment portion of this meeting. As stated by the Chairman, we will move into public comment. As a reminder, public comment period opens at 2 p.m. on the Tuesday of the board meeting and closes at 1 p.m. on the day of the board meeting. Members of the public are welcome to provide comment here in person, virtually, through the Zoom webinar, or by providing written public comment. All public comments submitted in written form or provided during the meeting becomes part of the meeting minutes. We received one written comment this month. The commenter provided the board with their input on the Woods Village project. Board members should have received all written comments in their board packet, and all comments received will be published in the meeting minutes. Each person or virtual comment to the board will receive 3 minutes to speak. I will facilitate with a timer and gently let you know when the 3 minutes is close to ending. Our first registered public commenter is LaShawn Burton-Falk.
Hi there. Are you able to hear me?
We are.
Yep.
Oh, great. Okay, this is the first time I've done this hybrid, so I do apologize. I think you said state my name, LaShawn Burton Falk.
You're good to start.
Pardon?
You're good
Hello?
to start your 3 minutes.
Hello?
Can you hear us, LaShawn? Maybe
Hello?
if we can
Hi
let
there.
her.
Hi.
Can you hear us? Yeah. If we
Can
can
you
let her
hear me?
know, if we can let her know through the chat
Maybe
that she
chat
can
with her.
start.
Hi there. Can you hear me?
I'm a texter.
We
Hello?
can hear you.
Oh, great. Okay, so I'm here. I'm going to do
All right.
this quick in case we're having a little bit of an issue here. I'm here to comment specific to the TRID, wanting to be very clear that the TRID for Manchester, I think, is a very powerful tool as a majority minority community, especially one candidly that is separated by a highway, or what we refer to as the Great Wall of Manchester, and that is facing significant development pressures. A TRID is going to be more than beneficial. I'll say first, and let me be very clear, there is a recent faction being led by an individual with personal financial motives, and misinformation may be causing some fear factor. But candidly, since about 2019, MCC and the URA have been working and discussing and getting feedback from the community related to the TRID. In fact, the latest presentation was in February 21st of 2024. That is via Zoom and is found on MCC's Facebook. TRID is a very challenging conversation for, most lay people. The concepts have not only been discussed, but in 2017, our neighborhood embarked on a neighborhood comprehensive plan. And that neighborhood comprehensive plan specifically worked through a TRID. And people got an opportunity based on a life-size poster to stick money in areas that they found were important, like affordable housing, transit. So the exercise was very impactful, and people really got to make a direct correlation between what a TRID could do and what a TRID looked like exactly. And in fact, our plan that was adopted in the fall of 2019 actually calls out as a goal, our goal 14, pages 111 through 117, the TRID, its need, and we have gone through that process. It's important because it helps to connect divided communities. We've got some physical barriers. We have an opportunity here to create some equity and access. We'll be able to look at this TRID by way of enhancing some economic opportunity in our neighborhood. Very specifically being able to attract investment. That's what you're seeing with the Esplanade that's all over the news and articles more recently. Very, very critically, the affordable housing and job creation. Improved mobility, because the Great Wall of Manchester is here. We can't get from one side of our neighborhood to the other side without some significant challenge. Public transit, has changed over the years. I've been here from January 10 of 2012 to present day. We've had reduced bus lines. We've got the T, and that's what's important, how this TRID really makes transit-oriented development and opportunity a priority. And it's equitable transit that we're looking at. An opportunity to prevent displacement while we're promoting affordable housing. These are just a few of the reasons why the TRID is important to Manchester. It will also foster community health
LaShawn,
and well-being.
sorry,
Yes.
you're at 3 minutes. I hate to interrupt, but that's
Oh,
been
that's
3.
okay. I'm sorry. I'm not used to this process, and my internet is a little fuzzy, but that's my comment.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Our next registered speaker is Raymond Moore.
Everybody can hear me?
Yes, we can.
All right. Good afternoon. My name is Raymond Moore. I'm the Education Outreach Coordinator at the Fair Housing Partnership of Greater Pittsburgh. My public comment today encompasses housing development in today's items 4 and 5. Overall, ensuring both equality and equity within our affordable housing is the role of us as a city. To that end, we ask the URA to consider the following. For items 4A and B regarding affordable housing units in Manchester and Chateau, we ask that in housing developments with multiple buildings, that the affordable units are not concentrated in a single building. For example, in item 4B, only residential building number 1 is detailed as including affordable units. Additionally, affordable housing includes for sale units, and the condominium building detailed could include for sale units at 80% AMI that collaborates with the Housing Opportunity Fund's down payment and closing cost assistance program. For item 4G, we greatly appreciate that the development now includes 3-bedroom units. As a townhouse development, we ask that that disability accessibility is considered in feasible and pragmatic strategies. For example, no steps at the entrance, bathroom walls reinforced for the later installation of grab bars, and widened stairways for later installation of stair lifts. New construction townhouses are largely exempt from federal accessibility requirements, and so townhouse accessibility relies on local action. For item 5A, we greatly appreciate that 2 of the 5 units will be affordable at or below 30% AMI. Given that the development is a vacant building that will be rehabilitated and the street level will be a commercial use, what will be the disability accessibility features of the unit, such as doorway widths, as well as the clear spaces in the bathrooms and kitchen? Thank you for your time and efforts.
Thank you.
Thank you. I believe that concludes our public comment period.
Thank you, Director. We'll now be moving on into announcements. Our first announcement is related to the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania RCAP Awards, and I will turn it over to our Executive Director, Namani Stenger.
Hello, my name is Sushila Nimani Stenger, Executive Director of the URA. I will not read all of the awards for awardees for the RCAP round, but let me just say that it has been a very productive 2 months in the city for securing and attracting capital. I want to thank Governor Shapiro, as well as our legislative delegation, State House and Senate members across the city who secured funding awards in their districts. And I also want to thank Mayor Gainey for his advocacy and ensuring the city of Pittsburgh receives its fair share of investment through this vital Commonwealth program.
Thank you, Director. I don't know if you're saying that about the mayor just because he's here, but
And no, it was already in my talking.
any questions or comments from board members? I would just echo our director's comments. I mean, it's great to see, so many of these projects don't get done without partnership and, organized and concerted sort of efforts. So, yeah, thank you to all the partners there and the folks that are advancing these projects across the city. They're critically important. Our next announcement is a congratulations to one of our own, and I will turn it over to Chief Link.
Yeah, thanks so much, Mr. Chair, members of the board. My name again is Tom Link. I'm Chief Development Officer here at the URA. And it's my pleasure really to announce this. Please join me in congratulating our colleague and friend, really, Corey DeRico, on receiving a 2024 Veterans Excellence Award from the No Hero Left Behind Foundation. Just a couple quick notes. The No Hero Left Behind Foundation is a nonprofit that provides support to veterans across our region, across Western PA. A goal of reducing and ending really veteran homelessness, reducing veteran suicide by helping and honoring and housing our nation's heroes and underserved. So this award, the Veterans Excellence Award, recognizes, the first class of military veterans who are high impact professionals, achieving success for themselves and our region through their commitment to excellence, leadership, and community service. I'll say personally, as someone who works with Corey daily, on a daily basis, as I witnessed Corey's commitment, his leadership, his compassion, and really as a human being, his personal goodwill to other humans on a daily basis. And Corey, I can't think of anyone more deserving of the honor. So congratulations, and please join me in congratulating Corey.
You want to say anything, Corey? Not to put you on the spot. All right. Any questions or comments from board members? Congratulations, Corey. To echo everything Tom said, you're behind the scenes on so much of what happens here. And, we thank you for all of that. I know your colleagues appreciate and value you above and beyond keeping the pop fridge stocked. So thank you for that. Our next announcement is the Q3 2024 Quarterly Impact Report, and John Bonello is joining us for this. How'd it work, David?
Good afternoon.
Hey.
My name is John Bonello. I'm a senior data and evaluation specialist in the Strategic Data and Impact Unit, and I'm back with another quarterly impact report for the third quarter of 2024. As you may know, SD&I spends the first 6 weeks of every quarter collecting and analyzing the outputs from the previous quarter to report our progress towards our strategic goals. On your screen are some highlights from the Q3 2024 URA Impact Report that I'd like to share with you. 29 businesses connected to technical assistance through the URA and its affiliates. 719 individuals were able to stay in their homes through either housing crisis prevention programs or housing-related legal assistance provided by the Housing Opportunity Fund. 40 individuals were assisted in achieving home ownership through the HOF down payment and closing cost assistance program. 334 units of affordable housing were created or preserved with assistance through our residential lending programs. 12 small business loans were closed between the URA and its affiliates worth over $685,000, and roughly $303,000 were dispersed to businesses maintaining vacant lots to support neighborhood projects. The full report is now live on the impact page of the website and shows more of the great work that was done by the URA in our third quarter. If you're interested in taking a closer look at these metrics, we encourage you to go to the impact section of the website listed under the About Us heading. Thank you.
Question for you. What percentage, rough guess, of the dollars being used here were ARPA related?
ARPA related, that's a great question. So we do ARPA reporting separately from quarterly impact, and we're still compiling. If I had to, I don't really feel confident giving a percentage.
Okay.
Hi, David Geiger, Director of Government and Strategic Affairs. Councilman, the URA was awarded by the city of Pittsburgh roughly $70 million in ARPA funds. To date, we have nearly 73% of that funding, or $51 million, under contract with external partners here. And as of this Monday, 40 million of those dollars have been spent.
Thank you. And I'm assuming we also have, I know we have a line of credit with Dollar Bank that I'm assuming some of their dollars are to this. My larger point is one that I've made previously, which is some of these dollars are going to be going away, as David already said, and therefore we're doing phenomenal work. I mean, even if you look at the number, 73% women and minority residential borrowers, 83% women and minority commercial borrowers, but in order for us to continue that wonderful work, we need banking partners to do more work with us and step up so that we continue the wonderful work that we're doing. So I'm really trying to make a larger point that some of the money, the dollars in our coffers are going to be gone in the very near future, but we're going to need those other financial institutions to step up and partner with us in more real ways. So.
Any other questions or comments from board members? Thanks again, John. I say it every quarter, but I know it's not easy to pull it together. So appreciate the work you do to do that so that we can see in aggregate the impact, all the important things the staff's doing on a regular basis. And then to the council president's point, leverage that in conversations with other funders to bring more resources to bear, you know, as we continue to do those outreach efforts. So thank you. We'll be moving into development services first. There's a number of items on the agenda, and if my fellow board members will indulge me, I would like to take item 4C first, and then we will proceed, you know, as shown on the agenda. So item 4C is related to the Central Business District, our downtown investment plan. Funding allocation plan, and I will turn it over to Chief Link for that.
Yeah, thanks so much again, Mr. Chair, members of the board, the public watching. Again, my name's Tom Link. I'm a Chief Development Officer here at the URA. I'll present this item related to our Central Business District downtown, which is one of my favorite subjects. It's very exciting. So today's authorizations, there are two. One is authorization of a funding allocation plan for downtown residential and mixed-use real estate development projects, and a second authorization to submit a letter of intent to the Build America Bureau, Department of Transportation or related entity for the purposes of an application for funding and execute, related agreements to that request. So over the past several years, and you know, I think it's important to kind of restate what we've been working on. Over the past several years, the URA is engaged with a regional coalition of public and private partners to advance multiple economic development and investment strategies for downtown Pittsburgh, really in the aftermath of our COVID-19 pandemic. Together, the URA with our partners advanced a 10-year investment plan, which folks can read about, really to reimagine downtown as a diverse, vibrant, mixed-use neighborhood with quality, mixed income and affordable housing, robust cultural assets, modern infrastructure, public spaces, and really a thriving business district overall. From the URA's part, the URA has led specific efforts, including the adoption of the 3 taxing body downtown LERTA. We launched the Pittsburgh Downtown Conversion Program. Both of these tools are critical tools to help stimulate the conversion of vacant and fallow office buildings to new housing development downtown, and has helped us cultivate a robust pipeline of opportunities across the real estate development landscape for our central business district. I'll note, and Dana, please correct me if I'm wrong, but folks can read about the downtown investment plan. It's published on the URA's website at ura.org/pages/downtown-revitalization. So just a couple of weeks ago, the governor was here, along with a variety of other folks, including the lieutenant governor, DCD Secretary Rick Seiger, our Mayor Gainey, and I'm not just saying that because the mayor's sitting back there, and assembled elected officials to make a major announcement for downtown Pittsburgh, which brought nearly $600 million to downtown to advance a variety of the types of projects that are described and articulated in the downtown investment plan. Today's authorization here in front of the board today is part of that announcement to commit URA funding towards specific downtown conversion projects beyond what has already been committed. And I want to illustrate that here for the board and for the public. So I think the next slide or the slide before this is a chart. Yeah, so there's a chart here. This chart captures all of the downtown office to housing real estate conversion projects that are captured both through the announcement of the RACP awards by the governor, as well as direct investment from the URA. This includes, and I'll just read them, the May Building, First and Market, Smithfield Lofts, City Club Apartments, 933 Penn Avenue, 601 Grant Street, which is also called the Porter, the Golf Tower, and of course the Triangle Building are the developments that are included in the announcement. So the RACP announcements are listed here, which went to a variety of these developments, as well as a variety of URA investment into these individual projects. Much of this investment the URA board is already committed to. So it's illustrated here, the May Building, First and Market, certainly the Triangle Building, which we funded and closed, have already been committed to and announced publicly and through this board. The actions here today are, what we're asking for from the board is authorization to provide an additional up to $10.35 million to 4 of these individual projects to allow them to fill their capital stacks and to advance. So those projects are funding for the Smithfield Lofts project, which of course is a 9%, received 9% award from PHFA, 933 Penn, 601 Grant Street, and the City Club Apartments. With this authorization, we would, as per normal, go through our final due diligence process, underwriting, work through our real estate loan review committee to fully finalize underwriting and bring the final investments back to our board with terms, final financing, et cetera, and subject to all conditions as per normal through our program guidelines. But I think it's important to signal both to the public, frankly, and for our board that this is our intention and these are monies at this scale to advance these important projects for downtown Pittsburgh. The second authorization allows us at a staff level, at the leadership level here at the URA, to advance to seek an LOI, letter of intent, with the Build America Bureau, DOT, to raise monies to help support this work moving forward. Conceptually, we're trying to raise monies to further build out a development fund to provide additional mezzanine or subordinate debt financing for real estate development projects in downtown Pittsburgh. With the authorization here today, we would continue that work, continue to seek, submit the LOI and continue that engagement and diligence to see if we can raise that additional money. With that, I will pause. I know there are guests here and certainly open up to the board for questions and conversations on downtown. So thank you.
Thank you, Chief Ling. Mr. Mayor, I know you're here to speak to this item, so we'll give you the opportunity for that.
Hey, to speak to it, but really, Tom said it all. There's not too much left to say after that right there. there's not really too much left to say after that. One, I just want to say thank you to the URA staff, the board. Sheila, I really appreciate your leadership. I know coming in was difficult times, just stabilizing the ship, but I believe you did an incredible job. And I want to publicly say thank you for your hard work and dedication that you've put in, as well as the rest of the board. You know, we've been working on this plan for 2 years. There's a lot of work that's went into it. And I would be remiss if I didn't thank Stephanie Pashman from the conference, if I didn't thank Sarah Anamarato from the county exec, if I didn't thank Jeremy from PDP and the rest of the people that really worked with us. Also, I'd like to thank Demchek, Mr. Demchek, and David from Highmark, as well as the governor for believing in the plan and also funding the plan. I think what we're doing here today is great, and I think it's a lot. Talk about 15.7 million going to downtown conversions. You guys have definitely put your foot into it in regards to driving this investment plan downtown. You just heard Tom talk about the 10.35 million. And that's not even talking about the stuff we get from the state to create about 1,000 units of 1,000 units of housing, with a third being affordable. I mean, it's everything that we talked about we were going to do, we're doing. And we can cast the vision, but you make it happen. And I just want to let y'all know how much I appreciate y'all. And even the additional revenue, additional resources you're going through with the Building American Bureau, the whole nine. I'm fully committed. I'm fully supportive. I want to go forward. We're going to go forward, and we're going to make it happen. But I just wanted to come and let you know that I support the initiative that's going on, and thank you for the work that you put in. We still got a long way to go to cast the vision. But at the end of the day, if we continue to work like this, people didn't believe that the private and public sector could come together. They didn't believe that we could bring this money back home. But at the end of the day, we did exactly what we said we would do. And I know that we'll get this money out the door, and we will execute at a very, very ambitious way, and that we will do what we said we was going to do by revitalizing downtown. But we could not do it if it wasn't for y'all. This is a major investment in our region, a major. We have not seen this investment ever. And so for us to be in this situation and for you to have the ability to execute this at a high level, it speaks volumes of leadership. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Okay, I'll turn it over to my fellow board members for any questions or comments to Chief Link's presentation.
It's heavier than it looks. This is great, really great to get to this point. You know, result of a whole lot of hard work over the course of I don't know, 3 years at least now. Yeah. And incredible partnership among elected officials at a local and state level, but also incredible partnership among the business, between the government and the business community. Organized labor has been at the table. And I think it's worth kind of calling out that, like, not only will these investments create 1,000 new desperately needed units of housing, with a third of them being affordable downtown, but investing in those buildings will make every single other building downtown healthier, which will help to protect literally thousands of good union jobs, good working class union jobs of the folks who work in all those other buildings, and really tens of thousands of other jobs in downtown Pittsburgh. It will also help to hopefully stabilize our tax base by putting a floor under the sort of falling values of downtown commercial real estate. This is one step in the right direction, but it is a desperately needed step in that right direction. So just want to echo the mayor's thanks to the leadership of the URA and the staff here who have worked so hard on convening all of the partners to make this happen. Indeed. Yeah. Yeah. Thank you. I mean, just one other side note, when all the janitors in Pittsburgh, our members, were in bargaining last year, a year and a half ago, one of the things that those 1,000 downtown cleaners asked for was investments in downtown, because our members recognized that their own jobs, that the future of good union working class jobs in downtown Pittsburgh was going to require a revisioning of the way we use office space downtown. And now we're actually seeing that happen. So this is incredible.
Director Connolly.
Just add my appreciation. As my personal role has transitioned, in both roles, I've had like a front row seat to the leadership of the folks that are on this board, whether it's been at the state level, within city government with the mayor and Kyle, city council with Council President Lavelle, and with Sam, and I haven't seen that level of collaboration. So I just want to thank the board and thank the mayor for his leadership. The state investment that's been made, the county investment, for sure, but also the staff. There were more than weekly calls. I think there have been daily calls on getting to this point. And so I think Sushila, Tom, Kiana, your teams, thank you for your work. And then I think Sam, to your point, it can't stop here, and the creativity and innovation with which, the director and her team is approaching these federal resources and other programs. It's exciting to see, and it's much needed. So thank you for everyone's leadership.
I echo what everyone has already said, but Sam's last comment reminded me of when they were in those negotiations and we did a tour of downtown. Not only were they looking for the investment in the buildings, but they also talked about how they at times felt unsafe walking and traversing downtown and the investments. And so while we're today specifically talking about the buildings, which are critical, as I start looking at our city budget, we started budget hearings this morning. So we do have to stabilize that tax base. But I want to give you credit, Mayor, as well as all those who are around the table for thinking about downtown comprehensively. And that's what the announcement the governor came 2-3 weeks ago to really talk about, that you all didn't just look at the buildings, but rather the play space, the keeping it clean, like making it a true neighborhood, and a thriving one. So I want to thank you for thinking about it comprehensively, which is what Sam's, what they spoke to us about when we did that tour a year ago.
Sorry. Yeah, I mean, it really is about that vision for what the future of downtown can be, right? And the reality of that it's not going to be what we all, have known it as, following the pandemic, right? Everyone said it, like the list of partners who've worked to get to the point that we were at 2 weeks ago is truly too long to name. I'm incredibly thankful for the mayor's leadership, and providing us the ability to do this work. The collaboration, as Director Connolly noted, of the county executive, the corporate community, led by the conference, Stephanie and Matt and their entire teams, and the team at the URA. I know Director Namani Stanger named everyone at the governor's press conference. I hesitate to even try to remember everyone's name, but I know so many folks, here, either in those meetings that have been mentioned, and certainly behind the scenes, put so much time into getting to this point, to underwriting these deals, to making sure that indeed what the state's putting forth, what we're contemplating today, or what we've already voted on, are indeed the last money needed to get these deals to move forward. This will be 1,000 units of housing, a third of which will be affordable, as has been noted several times, that will be under construction within the next 18 months. So in addition to all the jobs it is preserving, the additional benefits and kind of spillover benefits that Director Williamson noted, it'll also be thousands of construction jobs of people, down here, and, preserving, selfishly as a city employee, but also as a taxpayer, financial sustainability for the city as well as the county and the school district. And it'd be remiss to not also note, which isn't in here, but the work that the team did at the URA to work with both of the other taxing bodies to advance a tax abatement program, to show the state that we were serious about it locally, as well as what Councilman Wilson and Council President Lavelle advanced in the city, so that they saw that buy-in from us from the outset, even before we had fully finished a vision plan and got them to buy in. So It's been a lot of work. It's been, you know, a long time coming. I know there were plenty of folks who felt, you know, some of these things maybe should have happened sooner, but I don't think anyone expected, except for those of us working on it, that what we put forth was going to be so comprehensive, and I would argue appropriate in scale to the challenge, or really the opportunity before us. So yeah, I'm excited to have been and proud to have been a small part of this, and I'm incredibly thankful to everyone who's worked so hard on not just the awards that we have, but the creativity that the authority is showing here, and seeking, you know, additional funding through the Build America Bureau with the Department of Transportation. So because while these first projects are important, sustaining that effort going forward is arguably even more important. So there's no other questions, comments from board members. Go ahead, Director Williamson.
What is the timing on the Build America process? How long do we expect that to take? Will it be done by January 20th?
We are currently preparing our LOI and plan to submit it within the month, we hope. We are operating under the assumption that all political parties are interested in a strong economy.
Maybe not all in the same geographies.
Any other questions or comments from board members? All right. Seeing none, I'll entertain a motion to approve.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed or abstentions? Motion carries. Thank you. Going back to the agenda as printed. We're going to go to Manchester and Chateau. First item here is the Manchester Chateau Transit Revitalization Investment District. And I will turn it over to Chief Link.
Yeah, thanks again. Mr. Chair, members of the board, the public, again, Tom Link, Chief Development Officer here at the URA. So there are two separate actions here. One is related to the Manchester and Chateau Transit Revitalization Investment District, and then one related to the Chateau Esplanade development. If it's okay, I will read through kind of a whole report because these are intertwined. These two, obviously, these two items, and then if it's okay, kind of take them separately, take them as one. So that's how I'll make this presentation. So there are three authorizations related to the TRID. One is the adoption of the TRID plan. The other is authorization to approve the URA as the management entity for the Manchester Chateau TRID. And the third is to enter into a co-op agreement with the three taxing bodies, the city, the school district, and Allegheny County, as well as the Pittsburgh Regional Transit for the Manchester Chateau TRID. Then the item related to Chateau Esplanade specifically is an amended proposal and authorization to amend and restate the DISPO contract for the sale of Block 7E, Lot 30, and Block 7F, Lots 2, 10, 20, and 25 in the 21st Ward to Esplanade Partners LP or related entity for $1.5 million plus costs. So I think what would be helpful is to start with kind of like, what are tax diversions? What's a TRID for the public? And if you'll oblige me, I'd like to just take a minute here. I teach also, so I'm a teaching moment for folks. So so what are tax diversions? So TRID is a tax diversion tool similar to tax increment financing and parking tax diversion. And it's really, this is in my opinion, and I think most folks on this table would agree, it's really our most powerful local economic investment tool to invest in economic growth in our city by investing a portion of future incremental taxes that would otherwise not be realized but for the delivery of a catalytic economic development, generally speaking, real estate project that delivers a substantial increase in taxes and economic benefit. What's the role of the URA in this? The URA is a sponsor. We underwrite, analyze, and implement and administer tax diversion projects for the city of Pittsburgh. And this includes all TRIDs, TIFs, and parking tax diversions. Our role includes an analysis that ensures a strong but-for test, which of course is a term of art in our world, to ensure that this investment by the public is necessary for this development to occur, and that the development promises to create substantial increases in taxes and other public benefits to support the tax diversion. Further, these tools unlock development sites in a very unique and specific way. This project in particular And I would say that all the projects we are involved with that use tax diversion, it's not just, it's leveraging financing, it's investing in our future, it's investing in growth. But a common theme across all of these developments is these are sites that, but for this type of investment, are locked and cannot be developed. And certainly this meets that test. All of these ingredients are necessary to move forward with a tax diversion project. And I would suggest that the Manchester TRID and Esplanade certainly meet those tests. So getting to the specific items to the Manchester Chateau TRID. The Manchester Chateau TRID then will leverage a portion of future taxes, largely real estate taxes paid by the Esplanade development project, to pay for necessary public infrastructure and site development work to allow the Esplanade development to occur, while also providing financing for critically needed public infrastructure. And LaShawn sort of touched on a lot of these things in her public comment, infrastructure improvements for the Manchester Chateau community. What's being asked is the public to divert 75% of future taxes, and the taxing bodies retaining 25% on incremental taxes to achieve this work. At the end of the TRID term, of course, 100% of all taxes go to the taxing bodies. If you go to the previous slide, I just want to show this again. I mean, to me, this is stark, and I think it's really important to show it. So the site right now that we're talking about generates about $83,000 a year in real estate taxes. That's not a typo. I frankly, about 15 minutes before this board meeting, I had to sit with somebody to make sure I'm reading this correctly. $83,000 a year in real estate taxes. At full build out and then projected, and we recognize capital markets and timing and real estate development takes time to figure out exactly what will happen. But at full build out, the potential for the Esplanade development is to create an additional $8 million in annual real estate taxes. So this is like a massive, massive increase. It's super important to understand that there are two things at play here. None of this can happen unless the Esplanade development gets funded, and the TRID cannot happen without the Esplanade. These things work hand in hand. It's super important to understand that. And if you remember one thing from everything I talked about, it's that particular piece of it. So to the authorizations itself as to the TRID plan. So what is a TRID plan? It's really a public financing document. It's a document that details the plan by which future taxes will be generated and utilized to fund infrastructure improvement projects. The key features of the implementation plan include the proposed boundary, which the first slide showed, the proposed boundary within Manchester Chateau by which the TRID will exist, which allows where projects can happen and what parcels can potentially be pledged to is increment to the TRID. The term of the TRID, which I just mentioned, 40 years. The pledged development parcels, which of course is the Esplanade development project, which I'll talk about in a second. An analysis of the projected tax revenue of the development parcels, the tax diversion rate, which I just mentioned, 75 and 25, and then the potential uses of funding for the TRID financing, which was the next slide, which is that chart, and infrastructure related to the TRID financing. So, you know, on the use of funds, so the current analysis projects that, you know, at full build out, the projected increment in taxes could yield about $53 million in TRID financing to pay for a variety of infrastructure and public benefit projects within the Manchester Chateau TRID boundary. You know, the chart here enumerates them. The plan itself enumerates them more deeply. But notably, these are a series of transit and multimodal infrastructure improvements, restoration of the riverbank, affordable housing, Beaver Avenue, Route 65 improvements, as well as particular funding to fund affordable housing and a variety of other public amenities and necessary site development to unlock the site and allow for the Esplanade development to occur, which again creates the funding mechanism for the TRID to even exist. These projects that are enumerated here on this chart will be carried out by the development team. So Pyatt and the development team, the Esplanade developer, the city of Pittsburgh's DOMI, Pittsburgh Regional Transit, and the URA will play a role as an administrator of particular funding to fund affordable housing development within the Manchester Chateau TRID boundaries. It's important to note that this was conceived over many years. An important document to reference as to how did we get to this implementation plan is the Manchester United TRID Action Study, which was published in January 2022, excuse me, as commissioned by the Department of City Planning for the city of Pittsburgh, which is the planning study, which serves as the basis for understanding what's important, what infrastructure projects are needed, and the nature of the Esplanade development as this sort of anchor catalytic development to allow for the TRID to move forward. The next slide here shows the legislative schedule. I'll say a couple of things about this. One, today's action is a very first step. Each of the taxing bodies that are being asked to participate in this TRID will have to go through their own legislative processes, have their own public discourse and opportunities for public input. I'll also note that there's, as LaShawn mentioned, actually noted in her public comments, but I'll note here again, and, you know, speaking to the planning study itself, there have been several over many years, discourse, public meetings, et cetera, across a variety of stakeholders that have led us to this plan that we're asking for authorization to advance today. Finally, I'll just note this is generally on our tax diversion portfolio. So the URA has been doing this for a long, long time, over several decades. We manage our tax diversion portfolio. And, you know, at least from my perspective, we do a really good job at it. We have a very, very healthy portfolio. When we can, retire TIFs early. In fact, we're doing that right now with Somerset TIF. We have had several that have retired naturally in the last few years and more that will retire sort of naturally in the next couple of years. So our portfolio is very, very healthy, and we're excited to advance, I'm hopeful, subject to, you know, authorizations in the legislative process, an additional diversion project here today with TRID. Esplanade development, which is obviously a critical piece of everything that we're talking about. So it's really the anchor development for the TRID. Again, but for the Esplanade development, there is no increment, but for the TRID, there is no Esplanade. So it's important to remind ourselves of that. So Pyatt, a longtime local developer, you know, who's really, you know, I think from all of our perspectives and certainly my perspective, has really reimagined our city's landscape over, you know, several years. Projects such as Market Square Place, Tower 260 at Market Square, Riverview, Pie Place, and others across the region. You know, significant positive impact on what real estate development and sort of our built environment here is in our region. You know, Pyatt is the developer for Esplanade, proposing to, you know, redevelop what is a 15-acre brownfield site into the Esplanade, which is a mixed-use sustainable development project that proposes to bring a variety of new development and uses to the site, you know, in terms of destination retail, et cetera, a place that folks can live, work, and play. You know, the program includes, you know, several hundred units of mixed income housing, you know, destination specialty retail, but entertainment, you know, the public infrastructure that I described. Future phases could include things like a hotel, potentially office, and other destination uses. You know, the signature projects in the first phase, and you know, folks probably have read about this, but, you know, certainly with the Planning Commission approval, but the current, which is a 3-story, about 64,000 square foot space that includes a food emporium, sort of an all seasons, all year public garden, restaurants, and connected to an amphitheater. We're all very well of the Ferris wheel, which would be like an amazing sort of addition and exciting thing for our city and for our skyline. You know, similar to developments such as Paris and Chicago, and of course, new housing, as we talked about. Future phases, as I mentioned, could include different additional program, including hotel, office, and other destination uses. At full build out, as I mentioned before, this could be about approximately $800 million sort of total development at build out. Currently contemplated as a multi-phase development with about a $385 million development contemplated as that first phase. Received Planning Commission approval on Tuesday. Expectation 6 to 10 years to achieve full development, but, you know, hopefully that can be accelerated, but that's the current plan. And just from an impact perspective, again, these numbers get really big, but, you know, the third-party in-plan study was commissioned for the Esplanade to help us understand the total impact of the site. That study says that over 9,000 construction jobs, sort of direct and indirect, 4,000 operational jobs, and will deliver nearly 1.5 billion of economic output for the Pittsburgh region. So this is a really big development, and I think can, you know, radically change certainly the landscape, but also provide, you know, really positive economic impact for our city. The second authorization as to the proposal, which I read, is specific to an amendment to our DISPO agreement, and just to kind of restate, and then I'll stop, I promise. Back in December 2021, the board approved a proposal for this project. We executed the DISPO contract in January 2023. The amended proposal today seeks to update some project details, as I kind of mentioned, current planning and phasing, and to restate the disposition contract to reflect that. We expect, hopefully, you know, early next year, we'll return to the board for approval of final drawings, evident financing for Phase A, which I described, and land closing to occur by end of March 2025. The developer can seek extensions on the DISPO subject to certain conditions that are enumerated in the director's report, which I will not read at this point. And with that, I'm going to stop talking. That's my director's report. I do want to thank a couple folks, James Reed, Bailey Knapp, ML, super important to this, to supporting this work and getting us to this point. I want to personally just recognize James with, he's actually very sad he's not here, but he's very happy too, because he and his wife just had a beautiful baby boy. So congratulations to James. And I hope he's listening, great work, James. But with that, I want to turn it over to Sheila, our executive director, to add further comments. And of course, Lucas and your team are here to add any comments you want. Then certainly the board can offer question and answers. So thank you very much for listening to me.
Thank you, Tom. I don't have too much to add.
Yeah,
That was great.
okay, sure.
So advancing this value capture district is really critical right now, and frankly, a good sign, in my opinion. The last tax diversion that we advanced was in 2018. And so I actually think that this is a really good sign for our region that we're advancing a value capture district in the form of this TRID. The last one we advanced was Smallman Street TIF. And so we're happy to orient anyone now or in the future, particularly with the taxing bodies, as we go through this process, and we'll be posting different things about what a value capture is and what it is not. So that being said, just want to highlight what Tom mentioned, job creation. We're talking 9,000 construction jobs, 4,000 permanent jobs, and the way that we curated the offsite public uses were by working with our regional public partners, DOMI, the Port Authority, to contemplate what the needs are throughout this value capture boundary. And as you can see, this TRID implementation plan is a phase 1 implementation plan. So what that means is that phase 1 is pledging the Esplanade parcels, but the larger value capture boundary is larger because we do see a lot of potential in this corridor for a multimodal corridor. And, we do imagine that the Reconnecting Communities Planning Grant will come out with some meaningful recommendations around unlocking transit in this area, and we want to be able to help our partners advance that. I think that's all I have to add right now.
Thank you, Director. Thank you, Professor Link. Should have had you switch. We should have had you switch jackets with Director Geiger. I know the team from Pyatt's here if you want to add anything to the presentation. I know it was pretty thorough, but I'm sure you have some stuff to share. Yeah.
Thanks, URA Board. I really appreciate it. Thanks to everyone in the room that we've worked with over the past 8 years, believe it or not. When I look back to our first move into downtown Pittsburgh, into the city of Pittsburgh from Washington County after we developed South Point, the URA was absolutely critical in facilitating our investments in downtown, and they continue to be critical in moving our projects forward. And I'd like to thank them wholeheartedly for their leadership in this region. I'd like to thank the mayor's office for his leadership. And Sushila, thank you for your leadership and the entire team at the URA and the board. When we first conceived of Esplanade back in 2016, we wanted to think big. We wanted to think unique. We wanted to showcase a world-class development that the region would talk about, that downtown, or our city of Pittsburgh, our projects are representative of the diversity and the improvements that have occurred over the past many years. As somebody that our company had roots in steel, we were in the steel business for many, many years, and our roots kind of go along that route of the city of Pittsburgh. And now we're a diverse company, and we're focused on creating great places and great environments. The first thing about this project was transparency, to make sure we worked with the community from day one. So one of the first things we did was engage with the community and talk about what their needs were and implement their planning into our planning so we could represent what they wanted at the end of the day. This is a unique location because it's been off the tax rolls since at least 2003, at least half of the site when the URA purchased it. It's a brownfield development. It's underutilized, and this is a great opportunity to let our riverfront shine. But it's also unique and challenging because what we want to do with the project is reconnect Manchester back to the river and use this project as an impetus to be able to do that. Not only will it be a great project, but it will unlock hundreds of acres along the riverfront. It will provide an incredible funding source for the needs of Manchester and the surrounding communities. And it isn't just this project. It's many other projects that will occur after this, that this will allow to happen. We are committed to making this project a success. I think over the last 8 years, we've had about 15 or 20 reasons to walk away from it. A pandemic, a capital market collapse, inflation going through the roof, construction costs nearly doubling, and true challenges in both our family, where I lost my father, and the patriarch and the leader of our company, and had to rebuild from that. So there were a lot of reasons why over the last 8 years, we probably shouldn't be here right now. But I think it just simply underscores our commitment to the city of Pittsburgh and to this region. And board, I appreciate your consideration for this. We're not going to give up. We're going to keep working hard to make this a reality. And I thank you very much. I think Tom did a wonderful job explaining the project. It's a huge, impactful project. But the key is connection, innovation, world-class development, training, making sure that the community benefits from this in the long run. That's the most important thing for us. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Before I open it up, I just want to know for the record, because when I started the item, I said it was just 4A. It is 4A and 4B that Chief Link presented and that will ultimately entertain as well as discuss. So with that noted, I'll open it up to board members for any questions or comments.
Just a quick comment. I think everything about the project has been said. So 8 years later, we thank you for still being here. And I do think it is important for Manchester residents to sort of understand what Tom said repeatedly, which is if not for this, they don't then get the estimated $4 million to support affordable housing in the neighborhood. If not for this, we don't get to apply the workforce readiness initiative that was announced 3 weeks ago that we're going to pilot on the Lower Hill and then move over into Esplanade. So hopefully residents of that neighborhood can both live and work there. So if not for this, then all of what many of the residents in Manchester are asking for are going to be very hard to come to fruition, because we have to have new dollars to put in play. And so that's one of the reasons why I'm supportive of this initiative, other just wearing my financial hat for the city. The $8 million in annual taxes are also going to be critical for the city's balance sheet. So for all the reasons Tom already went through, I'm happy to be supportive. I look forward to working with you. At some point in the near future, I would like to hold a community meeting, because this is somewhat hard for residents to understand, right? What all this means. And so I would like and hope the URA will be supportive in doing that and just sort of walking the community through it. But thank you, and happy to be supportive.
Director Connolly.
First, I just want to say thank you for the intentional community engagement. It takes time and energy, and that's appreciated. I am going to be abstaining today. Not that, not excited for the project, but in my role with the county, we look forward to having, robust discussion and going through that county council process as well. So just wanted to provide that context.
Thank you. I just had one question, Chief Link, for sort of clarifications purposes. And you may have said it, but I think it just bears kind of putting a finer point under, in terms of the TRID district itself being for a 40-year period, but the diversion for any single parcel, like, can you just speak about the difference between those two things?
Yeah, essentially So essentially within that 40-year term, individual financings can be entered into up to 20 years within the 40 years. So it provides some flexibility, right? So if I'm, making this up a little bit, but say 5-6 years from now, there's an opportunity for a financing related to, say, Phase B. The TRID having a 40-year term allows to enter into that financing at that point within the term of the TRID. I can get a nuance. It's a little bit different than how TIF works, but that's basically that's how that works with TRID.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you. I can't believe it's been 8 years. Because for me, that was 3 jobs ago, but I can remember talking to you all when you first started thinking about this. So, I mean, Lucas, you said it well in terms of all the times or reasons you all had to walk away. So, truly appreciative of the persistence that, you and James and, the entire team have put, here to get to this point. I think to Director Connolly's comment and both what, the teams noted and the council presidents noted and the outreach that you've done to this point. I think it's worth just underscoring that you've always been willing to have those conversations around ways to make investments off-site or things that you can accommodate on-site, as much as, what was it, 2 weeks ago when we were even talking about potential opportunities, whether that was on-site or off-site, to, even deepen the levels of affordability. So I appreciate you always willing to continue and engage in those dialogues on how to, iterate and improve the project. And, just want to make sure that's noted out loud, and our appreciation for that is noted as well. Yeah, thanks to all the staff who've worked on it to get to this point. James, I hope you aren't watching and are either
Maybe
enjoying time with your
Didn't text
family
me, so.
or getting some, I'm sure, much needed rest. But congratulations. If there's no other questions or comments from board members, entertain a motion to approve.
Second.
Okay, all those in favor?
All right.
Aye. Any opposed? Any abstentions? One abstention. All right, the motion carries. Thank you.
Thank you.
Moving on in development services, our next item is in the Hill District for Bedford Choice. And I'm going to turn it over to Brandon Wilson.
Hello, everyone. My name is Brandon Wilson, and I am a project manager in the URA's Development Services Department. I'm here today to request authorization for a number of items related to the second phase of the Bedford Choice Neighborhoods Initiative. Authorization is requested to approve the proposal and form a contract for sale of a portion of Block 25S Lot 112 in the 5th Ward to Trek Development or a related entity for $37,000 plus costs. An easement agreement with Trek Development or a related entity of over 1,083 square feet, Block 25S Lot 110 for consideration of $9,000 plus costs. And then authorization for the official action to register the intent to issue multifamily financing bonds for Bedford Choice Phase 1B and Bedford Choice Phase 1C, each of up to 20 million for a total of up to 40 million. Next slide, please. In July of 2023, the city of Pittsburgh was awarded a $50 million Choice Neighborhoods Initiative grant to rebuild Bedford dwellings, the oldest public housing in Pittsburgh. This is phase 2, the largest phase of the redevelopment, and it'll be for 180 units. At the regular December 2023 board meeting, the URA Board of Directors granted exclusive negotiations for the sale of one parcel located adjacent to the main site on Francis Street to Trek Development to complete their site plan. The full development is going to involve multiple applications to the Pennsylvania Housing Finance Agency or PHFA for low-income housing tax credits. And the result will be 180 units on Francis Street. The project's going to be broken into 3 subphases, 2A, 2B, and 2C. And a portion of the parcel for sale will be used for phase 2C with 4% housing, low-income housing tax credits for 50 units of family housing. All 3 subphases are located on vacant land owned by the Housing Authority of the City of Pittsburgh. However, the URA land is just going to go to phase 2C. Again, 50 units, 25 of which will be sold at 80% or below AMI. The other 25 will be for market rate units. And the easement will provide Trek Development the opportunity to complete their site plan with parking. It's anticipated that both Bedford phases 2B and 2C will receive 4% low-income housing tax credits. and an allocation of volume cap from the Pennsylvania House Financing Agency in Q1 of 2025. These 4% awards and volume cap allocation will enable the projects to access tax-exempt bond financing. That's a typical structure for financing 4% affordable housing projects. Typically, PHFA issues the bonds, but the URA can also be the bond issuing entity as they are here. The developer requested that the URA issue the bonds for these phases, and PHFA is on board with this structure. The bonds we're issuing will be sold to an investor at a lower interest rate than traditional financing options. Structure helps make the project economically viable. Project developer receives the proceeds from the bond sale and is responsible for repaying the principal and interest on the bonds. As the issuing entity, the URA is not liable for the bond debt. Project developer is solely responsible for the repayment. Today, we request 20 million, up to 20 million in inducement resolutions for Bedford Phase 2B and Bedford Phase 2C in a total of up to 40 million for both phases. These resolutions serve as a declaration of official intent for bond financing to be issued for each project as required by federal regulations. It should be noted that the public board agenda only included the inducement resolution for Phase 2C. The updated agenda for board members also includes the inducement resolution for Phase 2B. The development services or residential lending team will be coming back to the board in the future for final bond issuance actions, as well as actions for rental gap program loans for the projects, and the approval of final drawings, evidence of financing, and authorization to execute a deed of sale for Bedford Phase 2C. John Janaki of Trek Development is on the line and available to speak about Bedford Phase 2. And additionally, we have URA's bond counsel, Andrew Mayer, and he's online and can assist with any questions about the bonds that the board may have.
Thanks, Brandon. John, I know you're online. I don't know if you have anything else you'd like to add to Brandon's presentation.
Yeah, hi, this is John Janaki. I guess only to thank the board for its consideration, the board and the city, that, as you know, this is a huge project, one of the biggest 180 units, in terms of a tax credit deal. It's 3 separate projects kind of wrapped up into one. Without the board's approval, without the URA and the city, these choice neighborhood projects, this Bedford replacement housing would not be possible. So I want to thank you in advance for your consideration. If you have any questions, be glad to answer.
Thanks, John. Andrew, I know you're on there too. I don't know if you have anything to add or just sort of there for questions. He was not there? Okay, never mind. Thanks, Brandon. Okay, any questions, comments from board members?
Happy to move it along.
Yeah. Brandon, just on the breakdown here, and I know you said we'll see this at least one more time for final sort of action, but in terms of, so I know one of the important tenets of choice is the 1-for-1 replacement, right? And build first. How many of the units do we know on this are replacement units for Bedford dwelling residents?
I don't know off the top of my head, but maybe John does.
Yeah, I can answer that question.
Thanks, Sean.
2B has 39 of the 60 units are replacement.
Okay.
And 2B is 60 units, 39 replacement units. 2C is 50 units and 29 replacement units.
Okay. So 68. Okay. And then John, on 2C, because that one's noted here, it says the affordability is at or below 80% area median income. I'm presuming that's across everything, but like in terms of individual units, there's certainly ones that'll be restricted. Can you speak a little bit more to how the income levels break down there on AMI?
Yes. All of the units in the development are tax credit units. We don't, these 2 phases of the project are what we call as income averaging. So we can go up to 80% of median if we have families that need, 60% above 60. 60% is the typical low-income housing tax credit project, you have to be below 60 to get into one of these
Right.
properties. In this case, we do what's called income averaging. It's something we're allowed to do with PHFA. And some of the units can be average. So if you have somebody at 50% in, you could put somebody presumably at 70% in. So you have somebody at 50, somebody at 70, that averages to 60. Most, as you know, with 39 and 29 or 68 Section 8 units, a lot of those families are very low income. So where we have a family that is above 60, this gives us some flexibility. And that's how it works.
Okay. Thank you for that.
Sure.
Any other questions or comments from board members? Okay.
Motion to approve.
Do we have a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed or abstentions? Motion carries. Thank you, Brandon.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thanks, John. We're now moving to Homewood South, 710 North Homewood Avenue Structural Stabilization, and Gordon Hall is joining us for this.
Good afternoon, Board. My name is Gordon, and I'm a project manager with Development Services. Today, I'm requesting authorizations to enter into 2 contracts for structural stabilization of 710 North Homewood Avenue. The first contract is for the structural stabilization work with Rec Crew Demolition LLC in an amount up to $1,094,000. The second contract is for construction management and construction inspection services with SB Thomas and Associates, Inc. in an amount up to $95,765. These contracts will commit what is remaining of the $2 million obligation for the North Homewood Avenue scattered sites ARPA-funded work. Next slide, please. Oh, thank you. Starting in November of 2022, URA staff met with members of the Homewood Community Development Collaborative to identify blighted parcels along the North Homewood Avenue Business District corridor to be part of strategic site assemblages for future development. In summer 2023, URA staff created a scope of work to address critical needs in the strategic assemblages. This property, due to its central location in the business district, was highlighted by community stakeholders as a structure worth saving. Over the spring and summer of 2024, the URA conducted a structural analysis, an asbestos survey, and an environmental site assessment of the property. After completing these studies, it was determined that the building could be saved. In September, the URA issued an invitation to bid for a design build work and a request for proposals for construction management and construction inspection services for this property on our public bidding platform, Ion Wave Technologies. The design build structural stabilization of 710 North Homewood Avenue will be completed in 2 phases. The design phase scope of work includes development of architectural and structural plans and permitting. The objective of the design phase is to ensure that structural repair work complies with the International Building Codes and the City of Pittsburgh codes and regulations. The scope of the structural stabilization and construction phase includes interior selective demolition, masonry work including repointing, flashing, and waterproofing on the exteriors of the northern and eastern walls, shoring and bracing prior to demolition, and reconstruction of the southern wall between the base of the second story and the roof line, lintel replacement and treatment, replacement of damaged joists, a new roof including new chimneys, and mold remediation. Once the structure is stabilized, the URA plans to release a request for qualifications to attract developers for future use. I want to note that MWBE approval is contingent on submission of a final MWBE plan. The final MWBE plan is due prior to contract execution. Lastly, I want to thank my colleagues in the QC&I department and the legal department. Their technical expertise and guidance have been critical to moving this effort forward. With that, I will pause for any questions or comments.
Thanks, Gordon. Any questions or comments from board members? I know this is really sort of like a companion item to the one we saw last month. So exciting to see, the balance of stabilization with the structures that had to come down. I know that's important, to the community. So thank you and your colleagues for your work on that. If there's no other questions or comments for board members, I'll entertain a motion to approve.
So moved.
A second.
Second.
All those in favor? Aye. Any opposed or abstentions? Motion's carried. Thank you.
Thank you.
Next in development services is Swisshelm Park for the Swisshelm Park solar remediation. And Lily Friedman's joining us for this.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Lily Friedman, and I am a manager of development projects in the URA's Development Services Department. I'm excited to be here today to request authorization to enter into 2 contracts, which will kick off the Swisshelm Park solar remediation construction effort and bring the first phase of a brownfield redevelopment project to life. Next slide, please. The first contract is with Brex Enterprises in an amount of approximately $2.8 million for general contractor services to deliver a cap and cover approach to the remediation of approximately 70-acre brownfield site. The second contract is with Quality Engineering Solutions, or QES, in amount of approximately $211,000 for construction management and construction inspection services. These 2 contracts mark the first phase in a larger development project. After the remediation, future phases are planned to include approximately 15 acres of solar development and an approximately 55-acre expansion of Frick Park. In order to activate any of those future uses, the brownfield redevelopment must occur first in terms of the remediation of the site. Future phases will all be back at this board for approval. So today, the approval is just related to the contracts for the remediation of the site. Before I open it up to the board for questions, I would be remiss without thanking our quality control and inspections team, Corey, Jack, Weiss, and Nazine, as well as our legal team for their support moving this critical project forward.
Thanks, Lily. Any questions or comments from board members?
Who's gonna, I know this is just remediation at this point, but who's gonna own and operate the solar part of this when we get there?
Yeah, it's a great question. We are in some preliminary conversations about this, but we don't have any parties that we're able to share publicly at this time.
Thanks.
You, Sam. Yeah. Any other questions or comments from board members? I just thanks Lily, you and your colleagues for the work here. I know because there's ARPA funds involved, there's been a sprint to get this to this point and under contract. So just appreciate, how diligent everyone's been and thorough and not just getting the opportunity out on the street, but evaluating it to bring it before the board today. So truly appreciate it. There's no other questions or comments from board members. We'll entertain a motion to approve.
Motion.
Give me a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed or abstentions? Motion carries. Thank you.
Thank you.
Our next and last item under development services is in Hazelwood, and it's Woods Village, and Director Meyer is joining us for this.
Thank you. My name is ML Meyer, and I'm the URA's Director of Real Estate. Today, we're seeking authorization to enter into exclusive negotiations with Oak Moss Consulting for a period of 6 months for the sale of 14 publicly owned properties. The board has seen this project before in 2021 and again in 2022, when it was larger and encompassed commercial as well as residential development. In September 2021, the board authorized exclusive negotiations with the developer for the sale of 48 parcels in the block bounded by Sylvan Avenue, Berwick Street, Monongahela Street, and Chatsworth Street. The exclusive negotiations was extended in February 2022 and then again in October 2022, while the developer sought community feedback and conducted environmental due diligence on the site. The city eventually determined that the steeply sloped, landslide-prone parcels along Sylvan Avenue were not suitable for development, and Oak Moss has now reimagined this as a smaller and exclusively residential development. Changes made to the project since its original conception include a reduced development footprint, the addition of 3-bedroom units, the removal of retail space, and the provision of dedicated parking. Oak Moss now proposes to construct 21 townhouse units along Monongahela Street, offering a mix of market rate, workforce, and affordable housing. 6 of the units are proposed to be for sale and 15 to be rentals. 10% of the units are proposed to be affordable to households at 60 to 80% of area median income, with another 10% designated as workforce housing, which is affordable to households at 80 to 120% of area median income. The affordable and workforce components will be rental units. The unit mix is projected to include 3 3-bedroom units and 18 2-bedroom units, and the project costs are estimated preliminarily at approximately $7,600,000. Krish Pandya, who is managing member of Oak Moss Consulting, is in attendance virtually and will be able to provide additional color and answer any questions.
Thanks, Director. Krish, is there anything you'd like to add to Director Meyer's presentation?
Yes, can you hear me?
We can.
Okay, firstly, I just want to thank the URA board and the staff for working with us. We've spent about 5 years with a very long and extensive engagement with the community, but it's been very positive. I think we have the community where we have the development exactly the way the community wants it. So it's been like I said, it's been 5 years, and we are glad that we are able to get to this position. A lot of things have changed economically, as all the other developers also know, in terms of the construction costs and the interest rates, but we feel confident that we can get financing, have a strategy that makes sense, and having some units for sale will help reduce our debt service, as well as have the ability to have affordable rental units. So I'm happy to answer any questions. We have a smaller development on deck, but we are quite pleased where we have landed. The only other comment I would have is, we are looking at developing something that's zoned residential only. So it's the elimination of the hillside portion, I think, has been a good outcome for the project as well. So happy to answer any questions, and really appreciative of all the support that the URA leadership has given us, and an opportunity for consideration for the project.
Thanks, Chris. Any questions, comments from board members?
The 4 sale units, are those also 2 bedrooms?
The sale would be 2 bedrooms and maybe a 3-bedroom. That mix, we haven't finalized the mix, but the plan is that once we start getting serious about the design and having conversations with the bankers, which are going to start actually tomorrow, just to get a feel, we will be able to finalize those. However, if there is a strong interest to keep the 3-bedroom units for rental, we'd be open to that discussion as well.
Okay, this is just exclusive negotiations. Okay.
Any other questions or comments? Yeah, Krish, I know you've been before us a few times over the last couple years, so appreciate your diligence on this, as well as hearing some of the community concerns as it related to the parcels along Sylvan Avenue. So do appreciate you reevaluating the approach to the development, and where there was more, let's say, consensus on having development move forward. So do appreciate you working with the community and staff and Councilmember Warwick's office to get to this point. So wanted to make sure to just acknowledge your efforts there, because I know it's been a lot of hard work to get to this point. So
thank you. It's our privilege and pleasure to be able to work and move this thing forward.
Yeah. If there's no other questions or comments from board members, we'll entertain a motion to approve.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed or abstentions? Motion carries. Thank you.
Thank you.
We're now going to move into housing. We have a few items here. Our first one is in the Hill District, the rental gap program for Heron Avenue Village, and David DiBernardo is joining us for this.
Thank you. Oh, sorry. Good afternoon, everyone. My name is David DiBernardo, and I'm a lending analyst in the residential lending department of the URA. Today, I am seeking authorization for a $350,000 rental gap program loan to Allen Enterprises and Development LLC or a related entity for Phase 1 of a project known as Heron Avenue Village Phase 1. Phase 1 of this project is the renovation of 650 Huron Avenue Village in the Upper Hill District neighborhood of Pittsburgh. Phase 2 will be the renovation of 646 and 648 Huron Avenue, which will hopefully come to the board next summer. The renovation of 650 Huron Avenue will create a street-level commercial space and 5 new affordable housing units on the second and third floors of the building. All 5 will be one-bedroom units. 2 of the units will be affordable at or below 30% of area median income. The other 3 units will be affordable at or below 50% of area median income. The commercial space will become a laundromat. Huron Avenue Village is the work of Allen Enterprises and Development LLC, which is wholly owned by Tanya Ford. Tanya currently owns and operates 13 properties, which include 22 affordable units. This $350,000 rental gap program loan consists of $300,000 for construction costs and $50,000 for a supportive services escrow, which will provide funding for supportive services for the residents of 650 Huron Avenue. Allen Enterprises and Development LLC has partnered with ACH Clear Pathways and Catapult Greater Pittsburgh to provide services. This rental gap program loan will be funded using 2023 Affordable Housing Bond Funds. The loan will be in a form of a 40-year, 0% interest cash flow loan. With the authorization of this $350,000 rental gap program loan, this $1.4 million project will be fully funded. We plan to close on all funding by January of 2025, and the renovation is expected to be completed by September of 2025. We're joined today by the owner of Allen Enterprises and Development LLC, Tanya Ford, who would like to make a statement to the board about this project. Welcome, Tanya.
Hello. Can you use the microphone just so folks online can hear?
I would
Thanks.
like to extend my sincere gratitude on the consideration to support Heron Village located on Heron Avenue. This property has been a cherished part of my family for decades now, generations. I think I'm the 4th generation now to own this property. So I want to give a special thanks to David for all the support you have given me and all of the other URA staff that has supported me throughout this process. And I just want to thank you all for your consideration and your support. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. And with that, we will take any questions or comments from the board. Thank you, guys.
Thanks, David. Questions or comments from board members? Councilman?
Happy to support.
All right.
Project.
Yeah, no questions or comments. Thank you, for your work on this, for the team's work on this. I think everything that you outlined, these are the types of projects that I think we want to support, right? And that these resources that we have available are really suited for. So it's exciting, to be able to see that in front of us today, and have the opportunity to support the effort. So if there's no other questions or comments from board members, we'll entertain a motion to approve.
So move.
Move to second. Okay. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed or abstentions? Motion carries. Thank you, Tom.
Thank you for joining us, Tanya.
And David, you are staying with us for the next one.
Yes,
which is
I-
North Oakland, so.
Yes, I am. Thank you. I am here today seeking authorization for a $1,725,000 rental gap program loan to Rising Tide Partners or a related entity for the acquisition and renovation of 321 Melwood Avenue. 321 Melwood Avenue is currently a 23-unit market rate apartment building located in the North Oakland neighborhood of Pittsburgh. Nonprofit developer Rising Tide Partners seeks to acquire this property and convert the 23 market rate units into units that will be affordable at or below 30% of area median income. This project is part of Allegheny County's 500 and 500 initiative to create 500 new affordable units in 500 days. Most of the $4.13 million development cost is for the acquisition of the property. Following the acquisition, some light repairs will be made, which will include masonry repairs, roof repairs, and interior repairs to one of the units. The funding for this project will come from Sinair Lending, who will provide the permanent loan for the acquisition of this property, and this rental gap program loan, which will be funded using 2023 Affordable Housing Bond Funds. This rental gap program loan will be in the form of a 40-year, 0% interest cash flow loan. One primary consideration of this proposal was to avoid displacing any current residents. The plan is to purchase this property in December next month, and then as the current residents move out, tenants who earn at or below 30% of AMI will move into the units. The current residents will be welcome to stay as long as they wish and even renew their leases as long as they live within the terms of their leases until they choose to move out on their own. The current residents will not have their rents increased by more than 5% per year to avoid any steep rent increases that would force them out of their homes. We are joined today by the Senior Real Estate Project Manager of Rising Tide Partners, Jennifer DiNardo, who would like to make a statement to the board. Thank you for joining us, Jennifer.
Thank you so much for having us today and considering our loan request for Melwood. I'd like to thank the staff, particularly David, who is a newer development professional, and he's doing a fantastic job. And also Kiana and Ben, I know, are providing oversight. So we're excited to get this one underway. We've had it under contract for several months. Appreciate your financing. We also have really great financing through the Preserve Affordability Pittsburgh, with Sinair acting as the lending partner, which has really enabled us to acquire this building, which is a little higher in a better neighborhood. And we, as David said, you know, we are going to work with the existing residents. It's pretty much fully occupied. And we did, you know, survey the tenants' incomes, and most of them are above 50% area median income. So, you know, they are permitted to stay. I do want to make a caveat that we do have the ability to increase the rent no more than 5% upon renewal, which we will plan to do. And it is, you know, part of the 500 and 500. We feel very good about having buttoned up our property management package with Allegheny County Housing Authority, who will also be providing the supportive services to the residents. And, you know, we're going to continue to fundraise. You know, we did have a wish list of, you know, 800,000. We did apply to the Housing Authority for gap financing last round. We do have project-based vouchers in place from a PBV only award previously funded. So we're getting real close to making this transaction final. In December, we've started our closing calls, and I think we're in good shape.
Thanks, Jen.
Thank you.
Any questions, comments from board members? Director?
Just want to thank you and Rising Tide for all of your work as part of the 500 and 500 initiative. It's been great to have a partner like you, but also the flexibility and creativity that the city's housing authority, the county's housing authority, and like all of the URA, all of the partners that have come together to support that that program. I think we're at unit like 129 of the 500 units for the first 100 days. At least that was the count. So there might be new ones that have come online. But yeah, just appreciate all of your work on this to make it happen, and the team's work and making it happen. So thank you.
And it takes a village, as we all know, right?
Jen, and this one's a little weird for me because I actually used to live in this building when I was in grad school for 14 years. Not only did I live there, I was the super. So that first window on the left was where I lived. Yeah, the landscaping was different then, but so I guess if you need to know anything about the building, I don't know how much has changed in 10 years, but I could certainly give you some history. That said, when I was there were a lot of students who lived there, so I don't know if that's still the case. And then it's sort of just because of natural turnover, you know, that you'll look to have folks in there through 500 and 500. If you can just talk a little bit more about that.
Reportedly by the current owner, this building naturally turns over every year by 50%.
Mhm.
And I think it's primarily graduate students. You know, we're again committed to allow any existing lease to be renewed at a 5% increase, and you know, start to repopulate with the folks exiting the shelters.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Sure.
Any other questions or comments from board members? I entertain a motion to approve. Do we have a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed or abstentions? Motion carries. Thank you both.
Thank you.
Our next item on the agenda is in Marshall Shadeland, some more rental gap, and this is for Brighton residents, and Jared Clayton's joining us here.
Hello, I'm Jared Clayton, a residential lending analyst here at the URA. I'm here today seeking authorization to enter into a rental gap program loan agreement in the amount not to exceed $1,275,000 with AHH Brighton Road LLC or related entity for the acquisition and light renovation of 2449 Brighton Road. Brighton Residence is a project through the nonprofit instrumentality of Allegheny County Housing Authority and is currently a 19-unit market rate apartment building located in Marshall Shadeland neighborhood. The project is part of the Allegheny County's 500 and 500 initiative to create 500 new affordable units in 500 days. 17 of these units are currently vacant one-bedroom, one-bathroom units that will become affordable at or below 30% median in area median income and will be leased to residents referred through the Allegheny Housing Authority through the Allegheny Links program, the continuum of care system operated by the Department of Human Services. The remaining 2 studio units are currently occupied at market rate, and these residents will remain in place as long as they wish to and remain compliant with their lease obligations. Any vacancies created upon turnover will first be made available to Allegheny Links clients. Targeted acquisition date is mid-December 2024. Following the purchase, renovations are expected to take no longer than 60 days, making Brighton residents available for occupancy in early 2025. Brighton residents will be managed by Glenshaw Gardens, a nonprofit management arm of ACHA, and residents will receive support services through ACHA's Family Self-Sufficiency Program. The total cost of this development will be $1,885,500 using the URA RGP loan of $1,275,000 using CDBG 2023 funding for 40 years with 0 interest. There was a brief thing that needed to be noted that it will be First Commonwealth Bank loan for $610,500. There might be a slight discrepancy in some of the information sent out, so we just wanted to be sure to correct that. We're looking at this project to have an acquisition cost of $1.5 million with total hard costs around $285,000, total fees of $660,500 with total reserves of $24,000 with construction and permanent loan financing of $10,000. I'd like to welcome Allegheny County Housing Authority CFO and COO Richard Stevenson to join us.
Thank you. I'm sorry. Can you hear me?
We can hear you.
Okay. This property, again, the Housing Authority is committed to working with the city and the Allegheny County Executive on the initiative for the 500 units. This property is going to be purchased through a nonprofit of the Housing Authority. But it was a true partnership with the City of Pittsburgh Housing Authority because we wouldn't be able to put our vouchers into those units because we had a city housing authority. So they're going to put 19 project-based vouchers in there. So what's important to know is really it's 19 vouchers, but if you live in a project-based unit for more than 1 year, when you move out of that unit, that project-based voucher stays with that unit. And then we are able to give you a tenant-based voucher. So you're not only helping those initial 19 residents in that building, it's every time a resident passes through. And what we will be doing and what we have been doing with the initiative is not only housing people coming through the Allegheny Links, but immediately we are starting working with them with financial self-sufficiency. We're providing them services through the social determinants of health grant that we receive through DHS. So we're not just housing, we're immediately working with the tenant to get self-sufficient, get on their feet, increase employment, education. So that would open up that unit for other residents to move in. So just thank you very much for your consideration. I would like to say one other thing. My wife and I both grew up in Hazelwood. I thank you very much for all the work you're doing in Hazelwood. I'm almost ready to move back from Bethel Park to. Thank you very much.
Move back to the city.
Yeah, we'll welcome you back in the city with open arms, Rich. Any questions or comments from board members for Rich or for Jared?
I just want to thank that Allegheny County Housing Authority. You all have been much more active recently here within the city, helping us solve a number of different problems. So I just want to thank you for your flexibility, your willingness to take on some really complicated projects. I can't think of what it is right now, but someone recently bought another senior facility that was struggling to my attention. So I may be reaching out to you to see if you could assist on that one as well. But I just want to thank you for your recent activity.
Very anxious.
Yep.
Yeah, you're fine.
Stay there.
Any other questions or comments? No, I would echo the council president's comments, Rich. You know, and Director Connolly mentioned it earlier in terms of all the partners that have really stepped up and answered the call that the county executive, put out on 500 and 500 with, leadership of Director Dalton and so many other partners. And I know for Mayor Gainey's part, the city's part, we're very proud to be part of the, folks that are working towards this. So it's great that we're bringing forth another 40 plus units today, for that are really preserving what have otherwise been naturally occurring affordable housing for the city, but then leveraging it forth to help folks that have been in shelter for far too long, so that we're then opening shelter spots for folks that are currently, unhoused and on the streets. So, it's a testament, I think, to what we're able to do, when we all lock arms and really tackle a big problem. So appreciate the creativity that Allegheny County Housing Authorities brought forth, the partnership with, your sister agency in the city, and excited that, we're able to support that work and that effort. So thank you for your work, Jared, you and the team, here at the authority. If there's no other questions, comments from the board, we'll entertain a motion to approve.
So moved.
Can we have a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed or abstentions? Motion carries. Thank you. Our last item under housing is the Housing Opportunity Fund Annual Allocation Plan, and I will turn it over to Chief Wassler.
Thank you, Chairman. It's annual allocation plan time again. So today we're presenting the HOF annual allocation plan for the URA Board's consideration. This will be the 8th HOF annual allocation plan since 2018 when the fund began. So how do we get to this allocation plan process? Just a little bit of a teaching moment. Taking after Chief Link, the URA conducts an annual survey, public survey, every year to help understand from the public how they feel these housing opportunity funds should be used. Those survey results are then shared with the Housing Opportunity Fund Advisory Board, who then drafts a plan annually based on those survey results, based on information from the URA, and just annual programmatic spend down. The plan this year, they came up with the draft plan in October, and that plan was made public and open to public comment for 30 days. We received 3 public comments on the plan, and those comments have been provided to the board members for your consideration in your packet today. So then the advisory board in their November meeting gave final approval to the plan that is before you today. In this plan, we've increased the housing stabilization program allocation significantly just to help assist those who are to help people stay in their homes and assist with eviction and foreclosure assistance. And today, if this plan is approved by the URA board today, the next step for the plan is it will be introduced to city council for legislative purposes. And if we make it through the city council and they approve the plan, these funds will be available to the URA in the spring of 2025 to start to spend in the programs. I want to take a moment to publicly thank the city of Pittsburgh, mayor's office, as well as city council for entrusting the URA to be stewards of these important public funds. We do not take lightly that we are receiving $10 million a year from the city and stewarding that to the public. I also want to thank the Housing Opportunity Fund Advisory Board, led by the chair, Adrian Walnaha, for their continued commitment to advancing affordable housing in the city of Pittsburgh. I finally want to thank URA's consumer and residential lending team for their daily dedication to managing these programs. And so with that, I'm happy to take any questions about the plan itself or the process.
Thank you, Chief Wasser. Questions, comments from board members? Director Williamson?
I have a couple of questions, actually. How do these total amounts in each category compare to the 2024 allocations?
That's a great question, and I can pull that up and get that information to you. I think what you'll find is rental gap program. The majority of the programs are staying pretty much the same. As stated, the housing stabilization program is seeing significant increase. Homeowner assistance, down payment closing cost, homeowner assistance are a little bit lower, but very close to their allocations from last year, as well as the for sale development program. It is worth mentioning that the legal assistance program is funded potentially lower than it was last year. This is because the city of Pittsburgh has up to $2 million of Stop the Violence funding that they will be providing to the program, as well as some additional CDBG funding. So while typically the legal assistance program was receiving all of its annual funding through the Housing Opportunity Fund, because they have these additional funds coming from other sources, we were able to spread the Housing Opportunity Fund to other programs who maybe needed a little bit of a boost. But we can provide to the board a chart that shows like the annual allocations year over year for your information.
Yeah, that'd be helpful. The HAP line, I mean, that program tends to, that funding tends to get depleted pretty quickly once those funding rounds open, right?
That's correct. I think last year, just HAP was at 3.050 million. So we're a little bit less and we won't be able to serve as many homeowners with that program. But yes, that it is, the round is opened once a year and it's extremely competitive program.
Yeah, it's unfortunate to see that be reduced at all, considering how important and popular it is, which is related to my second question, I think, which I don't know if you know the answer to this, but Councilman might. Do we have any sense of like how this $10 million compares now to the money, actually the revenue generated in the city by the 1% increase in the realty transfer tax that originally funded all of this?
It's less. Sorry. The 10 million is less than what we're actually recouping. I don't recall the exact amount
Yeah.
though. I'd have to check our books.
I would say historically it's been less. This year, I don't know that that's held true, just because of what's happened in the real estate market. There's been less transactions. You know, through the pandemic, even though there were less transactions, there was the upward price pressure. So those kind of balance each other out. I know I can get you the information, Sam. I don't have it off the top of my head, and we can obviously look at it in the budget that was just introduced earlier this week into where the numbers are. But you know, there was some, you know, it's obviously there's variability there, right? Because it is contingent on sales. It's not as though there's an assessed sort of value, right? And it's probably a bad example right now, given everything that's happening, but you know what I mean, where there's a more solid base. So, yeah.
Thanks.
Yep. Any other questions or comments from board members? I mean, I know it's not an easy task that the advisory board has or the staff in making these recommendations to Director Williamson's comment. And it's the case, I think, with all of these, right? The need far outstrips the resources we have available. You know, I think we had one project or maybe two earlier that are using housing bond proceeds. It's obviously what the intent was when, you know, the mayor and administration and council put that forth, was to bring more resources to bear. I think to the council president's earlier comment on what we've been able to do with ARPA funds in response to some of that outsized demand and the need, you know, for more partners to come to the table as we think about bringing additional resources forth, you know, moving forward. It really just underscores that point, right? That even at a higher amount, you know, we were oversubscribed last year, and this one, I'm sure for well-considered reasons and all of the work and outreach, et cetera, that the advisory board and staff did, is slightly less than that. So I just think it speaks to how wide, how broad the demand is, you know, for all of these programs. And they are difficult choices, but it's not lost, I think, on any of us how well reasoned and considered the plan that is presented to us always is. So do just want to thank everyone who took the time to provide input, you know, come out to community sessions, answer surveys, et cetera. You know, for their input on that, it does truly matter. And then the work that staff does, I know, to research the trends that are happening in the market and you know, looking at the demand for the services and programs, you know, on a year-over-year basis. So thank everyone for what they've put forth. If there's no other questions or comments from board members, entertain a motion to approve. So moved. We have a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed or abstentions? The motion carries. We're moving on to the consent agenda. If board members have any questions, comments for any of the items there? Seeing none, I'll entertain a motion to approve the consent agenda in its entirety.
Second.
Second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed or abstentions? The consent agenda is approved. And with that, I will entertain a motion to adjourn.
Second.
We are adjourned. Thank you all for joining us, and we will see you next month.